All right, gonna talk about more Loki. You know what I like about Loki? He's constantly learning. He's constantly developing new skills. And speaking of which, I want to thank the sponsor of this video. This video is brought to you by Skillshare. Nailed it. Skillshare is an online learning community where millions come together to take that next step in their creative journey. Creative endeavors like illustration, graphic design, photography, animation, creative writing, film and video, much more. Speaking of film and video, they have a class called Learn Premiere Pro and Edit, a how-to guide for beginners. As someone who's always used Premiere Pro for my videos and had to self-teach myself, yeah, that would have been a welcome class if it was so accessible back then. So you take that class, you have the jump on me. As always, Skillshare is curated for learning, which means you're not bogged down with ads, just a creative world and atmosphere. An annual subscription's less than $10 a month, and the first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link below will get a free premium trial membership. So click the link below and get on that creative process that calls to you. And thank you once again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I do appreciate it. All right, now we're going to talk about Loki episode 2. A couple things to remember. One, spoiler warning. I get spoilerish when I talk about episodes of shows. Only way I know how to do it. And two, it's not a play-by-play. I'm not going to talk about everything in this episode. Just some things that stood out to me. Some things that the episode made me think about. As much as I want to talk about the fact that, though they fought in an electronics store, I feel like there are more interesting things to talk about. Though that electronics store was in the year 2050, and that was pretty modern tech. To us, that was some pretty 2021 tech that I saw in that electronics store. So was that a retro electronics store? I don't know. I do appreciate the optimism of this show. It's like, oh, this show thinks we're gonna be around in 2050. That's sweet. So in this episode of Loki, Loki gets the brilliant idea that, well, this alternate Loki is hanging out in apocalypse settings, you know, it's because you can't do anything in a timeline without vastly affecting and creating a variant timeline that now needs to be eliminated. Things need to be controlled. These three super deities out there, big control freaks, gods, I tell you. But I like how they test the hypothesis. Like right when they arrived, I was like, where are they? Oh, a big volcano in the background. This is Pompeii. I really like that about this episode. I was like, yeah, you have a hypothesis. Now you need to test it. Science. So they go to Pompeii and Loki's telling everyone like, you're gonna die, and he releases goats. Like Owen Wilson was like, let's just make small. That's not how Loki works. Loki's all the end is nigh, release the goats, and then the volcano happens. And there's no variant whatsoever. There's no alternate timeline. So that's where alternate Loki's hanging out in these apocalypse settings. It doesn't have to be world breaking or world ending, just a civilization or an event where nobody gets out of there alive. Nobody lives to tell the tale. Well, what you say and do there, I guess it doesn't matter. All right, so the thing that got Loki thinking about this was Ragnarok. He was like, yeah, I could go to Ragnarok, do and say anything, and Asgard gets destroyed, which means what I said and did didn't matter, which means there would be no time variant timeline, which means I could do that, which means that's what alternate Loki's doing. True, clever, but it's not perfect, right? I mean, all right, bear with me on this. Thought experiment, right? Thought experiments are fun, so here it goes. Let's say Loki does that. Let's say he goes to Asgard right before Ragnarok. Everyone's gonna die, you're all gonna die, you're toast. Let's say one person's like, I kind of believe him. All right, so he just takes a bunch of food and runs down Rainbow Road to try to get to the Bifrost to get the fuck out of Dodge. While running down Rainbow Road, he drops a banana, or another Asgardian slippery fruit. They gotta have one. So at that point, that guy, when he's running down Rainbow Road, could fall, slip, smack his head, die. Spiked blue shell can smack him. Always happens on Rainbow Road. Because at the big fight at the end of Thor Ragnarok, when Hulk is running to get out of Asgard, he slips on the banana peel, falls off the Rainbow Road, does not make it off of Asgard, gets destroyed in Asgard as Asgard gets destroyed. Thus, no one's around to snap and bring everyone back. Thus, Thanos wins because of a banana. I mean, it's not likely, but it's possible. And there was a conversation in this episode that made me like, huh. Really? It was when Owen Wilson's character and Loki, they're talking. Loki's like, what's the end game? Like, what's the goal of the timeline Men in Black here? Like, what are you guys doing? And Owen Wilson says, you get to the point where there's no chaos, only order till the end of time. I was like, really? Well,
sounds an awful lot like a dictatorship to me.
I mean, it does sound like I've heard that conversation, that speech before. I was like, it sounds an awful lot like you're saying,
I'm on mission.
What mission?
peace in our time.
Which is the rationale of every dictator in the history of dictators since the dawn of dictators. That's what they think. That's how they think. Then you have the three gods who created timelines, wiping out timelines because they feel it's best for existence. I mean, when Owen Wilson's character in Loki, they were talking, and Owen Wilson's like, I mean, listen to yourself, you know, you're a god, you're from Asgard, magic and all that. And Loki's like, that's different. He was like, no, it's not, it's exactly the same. But if it's comparable, if it's the same, for a long time that we've known Loki, Loki's been a dick. His wants are for what's best for him, not what's best for the masses. So if these gods are comparable to that concept, who's to say that they're best for people, for civilizations? I mean, chaos is that which brings life, right? Like, chaos is life. You can't have life flourish without chaos. At the biological level, every genetic mutation of chance that helped life spring forward, leap forward, helped life flourish, it wouldn't happen without chaos. They might just want timelines to conform to what's best for them, not what's best for existence. It's possible Lady Loki might have figured this out, and maybe that's what she's fighting. Possible that she might be trying to free civilizations from the influence of these fatalistic deity dicks, which is an awesome concept. I don't know if they're gonna go there, but it's interesting. It's an interesting thought. We've hit peak Fire Emblem 3 houses in Loki. If you haven't played that game, play it. And that was the big reveal this episode, is that alternate Loki is actually Lady Loki. Something that the internet was like, yeah, it's totally gonna be Lady Loki. Like, people in the know. I personally know nothing about Lady Loki other than that was an alternate Loki costume in Marvel Heroes. Man, I miss Marvel Heroes. So many hours. Midtown Monday. But I enjoyed this episode. It got me in my head thinking about chaos theory and whether or not going to an apocalypse setting is actually a fail-safe way of not creating variant timelines. But more than that, this is when I started humoring this organization, the TVA, as whether or not they're actually good. It sounds like these three deity figures, which might not even exist. I don't know. It might just be a legend that's passed down and people are actually serving nothing. I mean, it looks like these three time gods and the TVA, or both, are trying to control free will and reality so much to the point where now, henceforth, it will be known as Twitter. All right, so episode 2 of Loki. Have you seen it? What did you think about it? Whatever you thought, comment below, let me know. And as always, if you like what you've seen here and you want to see more, click right here to see more.